No Direction Home is the informal Soho directors community. Find us at nodirectionhome.com. I just wondered if you could tell me about what it was like meeting Ray Harryhausen.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of my idols as a kid of seeing these creatures, finding out who the guy was. He was already quite old when I came across him, and actually I did a project at A-levels on Ray Harryhausen when I was 16 or 17. My dad amazingly found him in a phone book, looked up Ray Harryhausen, phoned him up and said, my son would like to do a project, and his wife sort of said, yeah, come to our house. So it was pretty cool. So I came to his house in, I think, Kensington, and really did a terrible interview because I was so nervous about it. Interviewed him, and he was so lovely. He took the time, and then he invited me in. I saw his gallery in his attic. He had this all of his creatures in bronze. Blew me away. I actually had a rubber dinosaur that I'd made, sculpted, moulded, made in foam rubber, and I was quite proud of it. And it was probably around when Jurassic Park had come out, 90. What was that? Yeah, 92 or 93, and so I was hoping to sort of impress him with it, to show that I was one of, a stop motion or effects person, and I was kind of initially disappointed because he was so serious and critical of me and my work, but in a really way he took me seriously even at that age of 17, and he sort of looked at this dinosaur. I've got photos of him looking at it, and he was great. I mean, he was very warm, but he was quite the T-Rex wouldn't be as fat as this because he couldn't get a lot of sustenance and food, so you need to slim him down. And I was thinking, Christ, I've sculpted this thing in clay and molded it in plaster, I can't slim it down. And he was so he did this great sort of critique and answered these questions, and then actually again when I did a horrors music video, it was in Edinburgh Film Festival after Butterfly. I did a workshop, and he was special guest at the festival that year with Sean Connery as well. He brought his Jason and the Argonauts skeletons. He had a skeleton in a beautiful little wooden box, like Morph, and he actually there was just a quick sort of story. There was the fire alarm went off in his hotel that night, and him and Sean Connery, basically, if you can picture it, had to go out in their dressing gowns in the middle of the night on the street in Edinburgh with everyone in the hotel. And the Ray Harryhausen apparently didn't go out of his room until he'd got his skeleton out of the, he couldn't remember the combination lock on it was such a sacred thing, so they're like, where's Ray Harryhausen? And he had to bring this skeleton out. And then he's a big fan of Sean Connery, but Sean Connery had never met him. And he was went to say hi to Sean Connery in his dressing gown on the streets of Edinburgh, and Sean Connery didn't know who he was, didn't really engage with him. And then the next day I had dinner, and he had a retrospective, and this was actually this is the best advice that I can pass on from Ray Harryhausen to you, which was, he sat there, we were eating dinner, and I'd showed him I had a film called Butterfly that I'd given him, just saying that this was a stop motion film that I did, and then he just suddenly went are you resilient? And I went, what? And he went, are you resilient? And I was like, resilient? And I go oh yeah, I think so. And he's like, you got to be resilient. And I sort of took it in, but was kind of thinking, what does that mean? And then actually, the more I thought about it, it was Ray Harryhausen's advice was, you've got to be resilient, because you just this career and this whole thing of continuing and not giving up and shedding things. That was the best advice. And then maybe 2 years later, he died. So, and I was really thrilled to have these two times of meeting. It was good.
I don't think we're going to top that, ladies and gentlemen. Corin Hardy. No Direction Home is the informal Soho directors community. Find us at nodirectionhome.com.